Boom.
All right. So welcome everybody to week 21 of the Firestone Institute Co-Coaching and Ninja Real Estate course. And tonight it's a special evening. We have a number of guests with us tonight. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to let some of the people who are on the call with us practice coaching. I've been coaching for a number of years now. And Shannon, I think you're related to Robin, right?
Rick's my dad.
Okay. Rick is your dad?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Just so I know. Okay. So Rick, you're an important part of what's going on here tonight. All right. So no more drinking until 9 o'clock.
Okay.
All right. Well, you could sip, but just a little. All right. So what we do, just so you know, Angela and Shannon and Janie and Jane and Frank and Sean and Janice, what we do is we are real estate investment and business coaches. We're not life coaches. All right. I'm not qualified to be a life coach. My wife is a life coach and a better coach than I'll ever be. But what I do and what we do, what Rick does and Eva does and what I do is we are coaches that are involved in helping people find their why, find out what's important to them, and then go after it and get it. So it could be what I call a PB4L, a personal business for life, or it could be a real estate investment portfolio or both. So we're trying to help people sort of take care of themselves and their families for 3 generations. Does everybody understand that? That's kind of what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've been doing it now for 6 years, ever since I retired from the University of Ottawa at 60. So I'm 67 now. So I've been, actually I retired at 61. So I've been doing it for 6 years. And so everybody knows, before my dad passed, he told me, you know, people should never retire. They should, you know, continue to be active. So I do this for a living and I really like it. I've said it before, I have so much fun doing it. It should be illegal, but you know, thank goodness it isn't. And I really enjoy doing it. And I put about, I'm getting close now to 400 people through the program. So tonight, Sean and Shannon and Angela, you're kind of our guinea pigs, if that's okay with everybody.
I'm okay with that.
All right. Sean, are you going to turn on your camera?
I'm driving right now. I'm just pulling in.
Okay. Well, so Sean, we'll deal with you last.
Sounds good.
All right, because one of the things we don't do is we don't want to kill our coaching candidate. Right? We just,
good idea.
That's just something we try not to do. So what I was hoping to do is kind of run the session this way. And I hope you guys can stick with the program. We will finish at 9 p.m. As I said, we will finish on time. We might finish a little early, but we won't finish late. And what I was hoping to do is everybody would stick with the program, and we're going to do some coaching and see if we can figure out how to help Shannon and then Angela and then last Sean, you know, move their careers, their professional lives, their business lives, maybe their real estate investing forward. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. If you don't know much about Zoom, it does allow screen share. And so you guys just give me the thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, Shannon, can you see it? All right, good. This you may remember writing this, Shannon.
Yes,
and
I
I'll
do.
just repeat it for everybody. So Shannon wrote, I own a pub 20 minutes north of Orangeville, Ontario, and she's looking to increase the net income as I've been open for almost a year. Right now I'm dealing with anxiety, finances, and I assume anxiety and finances are somehow linked, and lack of time. She's probably, we're going to hear from Shannon in a minute, but she's probably a one-man band, if you guys know what I mean. You know, probably doing everything, you know, and Shannon, you may have heard this before, that you're working in the business rather than on the business. Would that be a fair statement?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to hear from you in a minute. So Shannon is experiencing anxiety, finances, lack of time, lack of space. Her restaurant seats 28 people inside, so it's fairly small. with 6 months having the ability to have a patio that can seat up to 18. So sort of that kind of sets the stage. She has her own personal business for life, hopefully, and she's struggling with things that we hear, or at least I do. I hear a lot from business owners. Now, Shannon, would you like to just talk a little bit more about some of these issues that you're facing? And then what I'm going to ask Eva to do is, Eva, I'm going to ask you to start off on the coaching tonight and see how you can do coaching Shannon a little bit. And then I'm going to turn to you, Rick. I know it's your, now I know that this is your daughter, so it might be a little bit more difficult to coach your daughter than to coach, say, Angela or Sean. And then I'm going to finish off, and then we're going to turn to Angela. Okay, everybody?
Yep.
All right. So Shannon, tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so I actually work at Sobeys head office, so I work corporately. My husband and I purchased the business December of 2017. We found that there was a huge opportunity with this small pub, given that loyalty is something that for larger corporations now, there isn't any. I've been with Sobeys for half my life and looking to take my experiences and branch out. Owning your own business is definitely obviously that I've grown up in with my dad being his own business owner. But we found this little pub north of Orangeville, saw that it was terribly run. For me, I'm very customer focused, coming from the food industry for practically half my life. I knew that I couldn't do any worse than how this guy was running this bar. So it took us about 7 months. We fully gutted it with the help of my dad, but also contractors. We had architects and engineers in there. It's a heritage building. So there isn't a lot of contractual in terms of the actual four walls that we can really do because it is in the middle of a heritage building. So we lease, we don't own the building. Yeah, we've been open since July 1st. We've seen our sales grow exponentially month over month. Obviously, the debt load is high right now because of the investment that we've had to put in to get open. The individual that owned it previously didn't have a kitchen. It was really just your standard kitchen in your home, where we put in a full range and proper commercial food industrial equipment. And yeah, we are licensed inside, given the space of our business unit, for 28 seats. And then from May until September, we actually have a patio on Highway 89 outside of our unit that can feed up to 18. So my dad had presented this opportunity to me to join tonight to discuss kind of where we are right now and how we can continue to grow. Marketing with my background is something that I'm well versed in, but I'm sure that there's a lot of other things that I'm missing. And given that I am relatively young, I think that this is something that I would like to do in terms of investments, as long as the sales continue to grow and we're able to pay off that debt, that we could be looking at potentially doing this again. It's been a really fun time. I'm very customer focused, and I think that my personality best suits this type of industry. But I am a mom of four. I work corporate, plus being at the restaurant pretty much every day and on call. So yeah, it's a busy life. Wow.
That was a great summary. I took some notes, but I couldn't keep up.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It was really good. A mom of four, a full-time job, and you're running a pub. You've got 3 full-time jobs, plus you probably take care of your husband. That makes it 4.
He's number 5.
He's number 5. Okay. So just to make you feel better, Shannon, when I was probably about your age, maybe a little bit younger, I had a full-time job working for the New South Wales government in Sydney. I had bought my first house. I was living in Sydney, Australia. I was doing my master's degree part-time. My wife and I were having our first child. We had 5. And I was building an extension on the home. And I still had time to see my friends. But the one thing I didn't have time to do, Rick, was drink. All right?
I'm not going to live this down.
So that's, when I was a professor, I was known as a hard case because students would come to me, and for the third time in 3 months, their grandmother died, right? And can I have an extension? No. So but I really admire and respect that. So Eva, over to you.
Holy jeepers, you put me in the hot spot here.
I did.
Okay, well, I took some notes while you were speaking too, Shannon. You mentioned that this was in the middle of a Angela, you can mute.
How?
I'll do it for you. So no problem. I got it.
Okay. You mentioned this was in the middle of a heritage building. So you're not a standalone building. You've got neighbors around you, right?
That's correct. And we also have apartments above us that are rented out.
Rent to bill? What did you say? Rent to what?
There's apartments
rented out. Okay. So when you said heritage, it kind of caught my interest. What is it about this building that's classified as heritage?
So it was one of the first buildings that was built in the town of Shelbourne in 1897.
Okay, so is there stuff around inside? I'm thinking of how you can animate inside to carry on this heritage theme. What does the inside of your pub look like?
Yeah, so right now it is the rustic brick, which is something that from an accent wall perspective, I actually found, so funny you mentioned this, I actually found this week. It's a Shelbourne pictorial essay book, and it is pictures, black and white, of the town of Shelbourne, which I'm going to be looking at, to your point, getting this built into like a wallpaper. So a lot of history pictures and putting it up above the brick to show that we're supporting the community and that this is what Shelbourne has become now, year over year.
Okay. Do you have any, besides the tables and chairs in the bar, do you have like televisions, sort of like places where you can play games?
So we have 3 TVs, and I also have 2 wine barrel tables, which again gives it a little bit more personality in terms of, I guess, how do I want to say this? It just, it adds to it, just not so much just square tables and chairs.
Okay.
In terms of games, no, and I've been thinking about doing a trivia night or a game night. It seems that those are becoming a lot more popular. I have to do some more research into that. Thing to think about.
What about music?
Yes, we have, so we have a sound system in the restaurant. Normally we play country music, but we kind of tailor to our audience. Fridays and Saturday nights, once it gets later, we change it to the younger demographic music, the more modern, just because that seems to be who our clientele is.
So do you have like, do you have any live bands?
So we have had live performances twice, and St. Patrick's Day on the Sunday, we're having another live performance. So we'll see. I'm hoping in the summer that I can talk to the new bylaw officer to see if I can actually have live performances on our patio.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Eva, can I interrupt for a second? Shannon, I'm gonna just share my screen again with everybody. And can you give us the address in Orangeville?
Sure. It's it's in Shelbourne, but it's 112 Main Street West.
Shelbourne.
Yep.
All right. So we'll be able to see it here, Eva, so we can all have a look at it. So which one is yours?
So see that sign where it says Fiddleheads?
Yeah.
That is now my place, where it's Shannon's Tap and Grill.
Oh, it's called Shannon's Tap and Grill.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And where's your patio?
So see where that tree is?
Yeah.
All along that brick. Like, so at the end of the
Right.
truck there. Yep, all around there.
Okay, so everybody, we'll just have a little tour around. So you can see this is right downtown Toronto with 60 and 80-story buildings. I'm kidding. It's
I was like, did I say something incorrect?
No. It's typical small town Ontario.
Yeah.
And I think Nick Cripps just joined us, right, Nick? Nick, are you there, brother?
Maybe not.
I think he is there.
I'm here. My kids have the TV very loud, though, so I'm keeping
All right. So, Nick, can you just describe to Shannon a little bit what your aunt did in
Tamworth?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not. How big is Shelbourne?
8,500 people.
Okay, so I mean, real estate there, like cost-wise. Sorry, I jumped in a little late. What did you pay for the building, just out of curiosity?
I'm leasing.
Okay. So, I mean, really what my aunt did started very much the same way. She leased a space on the main street in Tamworth. It's quite a bit smaller than I think it's about 3,000 people. And then slowly over time, she's an artist. She makes her own purses. She's big into recycling and stuff like that. So she started by making tire tapestries with old recycled tires and mirrors in her lease space. And then over time, the owner decided that he wanted to sell, so they negotiated a seller take back. Sorry, hang on a second. Sorry, I'm speaking over a TV here. So basically what she did is start small with purses and mirrors and things like that. It made a name for herself, and then she came up with a company called Boneco Design, is the name of the company now. And once she was able to negotiate what's called a vendor take-back mortgage on her property that she was actually leasing, she turned that into a revenue generator for her. And ever since then, she's slowly just been acquiring every little piece of commercial real estate that pops up, and she runs her now an Airbnb business in Tamworth that focuses on very specific, like artists that want to retreat, writers that want to retreat, that sort of thing. And that's her draw. That's how she draws people into what would be considered a small town, which is not really a city draw in, like Ottawa, you have Parliament or whatever, Toronto, you have the CN Tower. So there's not really a lot to go to Tamworth for, except for what she does and providing people an escape. So again, I jumped in late, but having a small little venue like yours that seats, I think you said 26, correct?
28, yeah.
28. So having something, that maybe caters to smaller bands, up and coming bands, giving them a place, a room that they can rent where they can write and produce music, or even having a small apartment in the same building that they can do that, where it would be accepted, and you're not going to get a complaining neighbor because of the noise, right?
Yeah.
So that would be sort of, I think, my best advice for a situation like that is having something unique to what you do. You want a live space for them to perform, but artists also need a creative space to create. I think you could definitely bring that forward for them.
So, Shannon, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm sorry about toggling back and forth like this. If you guys are getting seasick, just let me know. I prescribe, what's it called, Dramamine or something like that. So, Shannon, look at this this town one more time from the perspective of what Nick is saying. Okay, what he's saying is that you have an opportunity to animate. That's where Eva was going, to animate not just your own restaurant, but in fact to do a makeover of the entire town. Am I making any sense at all?
Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so what Nick was talking about is what his aunt did in a tiny town called Tamworth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's all kinds of opportunities for you. And what I've been saying to people like your dad, like to Rick, is look, when you drive a stake in the ground, when you own a business as you do, Shannon's Tap and Grill, you own part of, even though you don't own that building, you are a part of a community, of a whole neighborhood. And if you improve and help people around you improve their their businesses and their buildings, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, it's only going to help expand, and I think just give.
Right. And so what Nick was trying to get across is, can you think of a strategy? And I think we can probably think of a strategy, and I think your dad could help you with this, and certainly Eva and Nick and I can help you with this, where you have a strategy that you're not just going to work on improving your business, you're going to work on improving the whole area, bringing more people with more money to the town, and improving all of these things. So if you look around this, these businesses don't look like they're actually that strong. The Soaring Heart, is that a strong business?
It just closed like 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. So the Soaring Heart is probably not doing that well. I can't read, you've got a barber shop here. You've got a cafe probably not doing very well. I don't know, how is Cobwebs and Caviar doing?
Good.
Okay, so you've got some that are strong, but you have great potential here. And after this call is over, I will send you some information on what Carolyn Butts, Nick's aunt, is doing in Tamworth. And so the animation ideas will apply specifically to your restaurant, but also can apply to the town. And if you could, do you have a BIA?
So it actually was dissolved about 2 years ago. I went to my first meeting the end of January, and what they've done is taken the original BIA that had been sitting on it 18 years ago when it started,
right,
just to get something up and running. Because I went to the town and I said, given that I'm investing into your community, where's my support from a BIA perspective? And they couldn't even tell me their purpose. There was no new business package presented to me. So I actually met with some councilmen last night at my restaurant, because there's a disconnect between the town council and the BIA. So we're going to be looking to ensure that those bridges are now actually merging together.
Is there an economic development agency in Shelbourne?
EDC, yes, there is.
All right. So does everybody know what a BIA is? Eva, do you know what a BIA is?
I was just going to Google it.
Well, no, we got Google right here.
Okay.
That's my middle name.
Business something association.
It's a business improvement area or a business improvement association. And it's where a bunch of businesses get together, legally created by the town council or the county council or the municipality. And they're able to levy like a tax that supports them, and they're able to do things, to improve the area. So the stuff that we're talking about for you, Shannon, is if everybody around you can sort of improve their businesses and attract, like Nick was saying, more people to the area, then all of a sudden your business will grow and become more profitable without you really having to do much.
Absolutely. And to be honest, we really haven't done a lot, and we've really helped the surrounding businesses get more exposure based off the minimal amount that we've done, because
exactly,
at the end of the day, I sell booze, right? So I benefit. And really there was only the Legion to go and drink in Shelbourne.
Right.
Then there was a pub that opened, but it's in a basement of a church. So I'm the only one that really gets sunlight, right? So to your point, yeah, it definitely is an opportunity.
So you said something else that I found very interesting. You said that your sales growth has been exponential. What's accounting for that?
So January and February typically are the slowest months in the restaurant industry. And we finished, given 28 seats, we finished at almost, between the 2 months, over $50,000.
Say that again?
January and February alone, we finished just over 50,000.
Wow.
I've extended my hours where normally people cut back for the winter. I've actually started to open Thursdays and Fridays now during the day for lunch. And come April, May, I think I'll be going 5 days a week, because the benefit is for us is that we're on Highway 89 and Highway 10. So right now the winter has benefited us with the snowmobilers and the skiers going to Collingwood. But then also we're going to benefit in the summer for those cottagers that are going up to Collingwood, Wasaga Beach, etc.
Fabulous. So, Rick, I'm coming to you in a minute, but Eva, did you have a couple more questions for Shannon? If the answer is no, you could say no.
No. I'm just trying to figure out how to word it.
Okay.
Those old pictures that you found, what if you sold prints of those, or even framed and sold some of those, like a kind of a side
Yeah.
income? The other thing is, times that you're not that busy, can you open it up to hold like art classes or
Yeah, so a lot of the other establishments in town are already doing the paint nights, and
okay.
yeah, so it I could do it, but I don't want to just be copying other ideas.
No, of course not.
Right. So the one thing that actually was motivated for me from my dad was delivery service. So in Shelbourne, there's no Uber Eats. Domino's just entered into the town, which is really the only commercial food retailer. They deliver, but nobody else delivers. We do a lot of takeout, and again, that's something that's been growing. So we're going to try delivery on weekends coming the end of March. And I see that doing well, especially throughout the summer.
So if you have live bands, is there room to have a dance floor?
Yes.
Okay, Rick. Rick?
Hello.
You can grill your daughter for this time.
Some of the suggestions that I've made to her are she needs to get just a little 3.5 by 5 card. And everybody who comes in, she's the hostess, she's the owner, and she is in the habit of going around and, hi, how are you? How's the food? But place something on their table saying, could I have your name and your email address? Because we, occasionally do specials. Start building a database of everybody who's coming in. I don't care where they live, and then start emailing, once a week or so, of nightly specials, the fact that somebody is going to play music over in the corner. Another suggestion that I had for her was there's got to be old Betsy Smith someplace who is a piano teacher, and some other guy who is a guitar teacher, and go to them and ask them, who is your best student, and would they like to play an electronic piano or guitar or something. We can't afford to pay them, but it'll be great exposure for them. Who's your best student? Would they want to do this? And you pick somebody who's 17, 18, 19 years old, and he has an acoustic guitar, and maybe Friday night and Saturday night he can come in, and that would be something that you would email out to the list, but you need to start building up a database.
That's good. All right. Eva, we'll come back to you in a minute. Simon or Nick, do you guys want to chip in here?
I think that what we've covered is good. Those are the first things that I would do. I would look for ways to increase the exposure, to add more value for other people, to get them there. I think what we've talked about are very good bootstrap ideas that certainly you can start with to increase the demand and just get more people in there.
Okay.
The only thing I haven't heard yet is something we're doing in Eganville, and Bruce, you kind of laid this up for us, but just connecting with local businesses that can complement You know, like for example, we're in Eganville doing like a glamping and high-end cottage resort, and we're connecting with the Bonashare Caves and the river rafting. So the idea being, obviously, with a pub or a bar and grill, is that after they're done doing their activity for the day, that they come there and they get a 10% discount on a meal or something along those lines. Just fill your restaurant for a couple hours, give them a discount on the food, and hope they drink lots of beer, kind of idea. Those type of things, it complements your business, but it also exposes you to other local businesses in the area, which I think is key, because you want support of locals. Your business flourishes with that.
I was thinking about doing so there's a ladies baseball group that a couple of them came in the summer to drink, and I was thinking about sponsoring them maybe this year, again, just to help and go out there to the games, hand out flyers. To your point, gives them 10% off. Here's your coupon if you come in after your game.
I think that's a great idea, Shannon. I coached a guy who owns 2 Subway stores. And there's all kinds of people out there. They're doing social media marketing and Facebook and all kinds of cool stuff, and none of it worked. And so what he did was he printed up, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollar off coupons.
Yeah.
And what he did was he would make a plate, a huge platter of sandwiches. And he would go into companies around 10:30 or 11 in the morning with this huge platter of subs cut up real small and his dollar off coupons. And he'd go to Rick's desk, and he'd go to Simon's desk and Nick's desk and Jane's desk and Ron's desk and say, would you like a sub? I'm just up the road here. Oh, yeah. Because by 10:30 or 11, most people are a little hungry. And would you like a dollar off coupon? Come to my store. And so some of the marketing that you can do is very old fashioned, but it really works. And the dollar off coupons, he bought, I coached him to buy the worst Subway in Ottawa. And I called the master franchisor for the area, and I said, what is your worst performing Subway? And he knows, the guy who's in charge of the franchises knows instantly, oh yeah, we got one of those. And so my client actually bought a Subway for $35,000, and including the franchise fee and the fit up and everything. He closed it for 3 weeks, and then he reopened it with new staff and all this other good stuff. And his first year, he didn't make very much money. He made about $30,000, but he stuck with it. And by year, I think 3, he was making about $90,000 a year from it. And then within the year 4, year 5, it was about $130,000 or $140,000, and then he bought a second one and did the same thing. So some of the marketing that you do, and your dad's quite expert at that, doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be really techy. It can be very low tech, and it works great.
So it goes back to my point there, Bruce, in the email that I had sent you, is the time. Like, I'm benefiting right now because I am on maternity leave from my corporate job, right? And I am not a huge risk taker. That's why my husband and I still work our corporate life, and I think that's why we've benefited and we've had such success in January and February, because I've been there. I've been at the restaurant
so
every day.
Stop you right there, Shannon. Okay, hang on. We got to stop right there. That is a wonderful point that you brought up. Here's what happens. Here's an entrepreneur. Her name is Shannon. She's got one foot on the shore, which is safety and her corporate job, and one foot in the boat, which is the entrepreneur thing. And you're either going to get in the boat and paddle across the Pacific Ocean, or you're going to stay on shore. There, in my opinion, because I've coached dozens, maybe even many dozens of restaurant owners, and some of them are very successful. Many of them are. And you're going to have to make a decision, because to have the owner in the store is a huge difference maker. And the other thing that you said was that at some point you might want to have more than one Shannon's Tap and Grill. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, as a little bit of coaching, your pro bono coaching for the evening, you're going to have either one store, one location, or you're going to have 8, 10, or 12. You're not going to have 2. And I'll tell you why. Because if you have 2, you know, the amount of work that you're doing will go up not by a factor of 2, but by a factor of 4. Running 2 locations is much more difficult.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go from 1, you're not going to go to 2. You're going to go from 1 to 10 or 1 to 12. I coached the Barley Mow restaurants. Do you know the Barley Mow restaurants? Have you ever heard of them? Shannon?
I have.
Shannon, are you still there? I think her computer froze, Rick.
I love the barley mill for the record.
She'll be back.
Shannon, can you hear
Sorry.
me okay? Shannon,
Yeah,
can you
you
hear?
just. No, I missed the question.
So you're going to go from not 1 store to 2. You're going to go from 1 to 8 or 10 or 12.
Yep.
Because the amount of work that you have to do to run 8, 10, or 12 is probably not a whole lot different than running 2, but it's a whole lot more profitable. And I coached the
Yep.
Barley Mow restaurant guys when they started, and they started with 1 restaurant. They now own, I think, 12 or 13, something like that. They're on their way to 15. And I told them the same thing. And I coach another restaurant guy. His name is Nick Lambros, and he owns the Brew Table in Ottawa. And he told me, and he's older than me, so he's close to 70, he was going to go from 1 restaurant to 2. I told him, don't do that. That's a terrible idea, because he's much older than you. And but he did it anyway. And what happened was he was doing 4 times as much work, and he started to make a lot less money. So he eventually closed the second location, and just focused on his 1 location. He makes really significant amounts of money, you know, north of $600,000 or $700,000 a year in net income from it. So he's done very, very well. It's made him a wealthy man. So you're either going to have 1 or you're going to have 10. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. I'll just show you a few things that I wanted to show you, and we're going to come to Sean and to who else are we going to coach tonight? Well, I'll come back to that, to Angela. So Shannon, you should see on my screen here, this is a small restaurant in Gatineau, Quebec, which is a small town. It's called Edgar Cafe. Can you sort of see it here on my screen? It's incredibly tiny. And it is a phenomenal success, all right? And the question I was going to ask you is, how good is your food?
Really good. Best in town.
Okay, so that's great. So the key to Edgar Cafe, I don't even remember if it's licensed, but there, you know, if you ever saw Seinfeld back in the day, Edgar Cafe is like the soup Nazis, right? Even in February, there are lineups out the door, you know, because the food is so good. It's not cheap, it's good. So I think having great food is really important. And you can see Edgar Cafe does a little, you know, patio here, and they even use the driveway over here for overflow in the warmer weather months. I have some pictures of the neighborhood. You can see it's not a whole lot different from Shelbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're inside. This restaurant has even less space than yours. What do you think her total revenues are? This is the owner here. What do you think her total revenues are? It's got 18 seats.
I have no idea.
She does $650,000 a year in this tiny restaurant.
Holy.
Yeah, yeah. So having great food and a great reputation does make a difference. All right, just another picture. Nick, do you recognize this guy here? Yeah, all right. I won't go through the numbers with you. Something else that Eva was going on about too, which I agree. I wanted to show you this picture. This is a restaurant in near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, what's it known for?
3 Bs, beer, beef, and what's buche?
Bocce.
Bocce.
You don't know what bocce is?
No idea.
Okay. Rick, can you tell your daughter what bocce is?
Italians play it, and it's something like bowling on a gravel driveway or a street, and you throw the ball 30 feet down there and try to hit the other ball, and it's like curling, only it's a summer activity on a street. or grassy or backyard, whatever.
Right. So Shannon, this restaurant in the middle of nowhere in a very tough part of town in Pittsburgh is a phenomenal success. And so what they do is they do beer, beef, and bocce, which is where Eva was going. By adding games, people love games, the right kind of games, right? And so this particular place is known for craft beer, and you can see it's pretty much a ratty area. I think Shelbourne's probably quite a bit nicer than this part of Pittsburgh. And when I tell you that this is a tough part of Pittsburgh, so for those of you who don't know, when I talk about a tough part of an American town, it makes any sort of Canadian, neighborhood that's, degraded and tough look like a pussycat. Trust me on that. This is a tough part of town. But again, because they have great beer, they have great beef, and they have bocce, which is a game, their lineups out the door, and it's been very successful. So adding games will really help you, I think. And you can see this is now we're inside those walls, right? And you can see, what they've done with their outdoor patio here. I wanted to show you this one too. This is a food truck, another group I coach. And this is a food truck, Shannon, in the middle of a Home Depot parking lot. And he does, I just got his financial statements today. I guess I can tell you. This is his food truck, and he does $490,000 a year from a food truck. It used to be $165,000, and then it was $300,000. And I just got his statements actually today. He's close to $500,000 from a food truck. What is his magic? Okay, what his magic is he's doing what you already have said you are going to do, which is that you're going to do a skip the dishes Uber Eats delivery service. Did I hear that correctly? So his sales are 40% on site, where you can come and with your family, and you can have a great burger, like really great burgers, and the other stuff that he does. But he does catering. So he'll do parties, he'll do corporate events, and he'll deliver, right? And his business has just blown up. I mean, I've never heard of anybody doing $500,000 from a food truck before. Maybe other people have heard about it. And don't forget, we're talking about a Canadian winter where the food truck is closed. So it's pretty much a phenomenon. But here's something else he's done. You'll see it here in a minute. He's added games. Can you see that, Shannon? So he has put, this is in a parking lot outside of a Home Depot. By adding games, families come here, they play, you've got a massive Jenga game, if you can see that here. They can play X's and O's, they can play the beanbag toss game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's a form of animation, right? All right, so you can sort of see it here. So he's got a sitting area here where you can get out of the rain, and you've got a little bit of a play area as well. That's just his menu. And as I said to you, he does a lot of catering. So if there's anybody in Shelbourne who has a party, or they're having a corporate event, there's got to be some employers in Shelbourne, you could cater those events. And that's, like I said, that's now 60% of his sales is home delivery, delivery to corporate events and corporate meetings, right? Does it make any sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what else I've got here. Yeah, and some of his deliveries are, he has his own vehicle and his own truck and his own driver, but he also cooperates with Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats. Is Skip the Dishes in Shelbourne?
No.
Okay. Okay, enough of this. All right, so I wanted to show you also, before I forget, and this will be kind of the last thing I wanted to show you. You can see here on my screen how beautiful some of these patios are. I'm not able to see your patio because it's not on Google, but can you imagine that streetscape that we saw on Main Street in Shelbourne if more of your, more of your street had this kind of an animation? So it wasn't just, Shannon's Tap and Grill that was animated. It also had things like this. And I'll just show you some other pictures as we go along. You know, I mean, this is obviously just a simple arrangement of furniture, and they have a 4-man quartet who sings, right? So they just do all kinds of really cool animations. Look at the whole street is patioed. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
I think I have a few other pictures here. This is another one. This one is kind of a gated arrangement, but again, a very successful patio environment. Here's another one. That's quite a beautiful one. I really quite liked it. And by the way, this particular one that you're seeing also has some games on the, you can't see it all in this picture off to the left. And you can see that the entire street could be done this way if you could get some of your neighbors. Because how far are you from Mississauga?
An hour.
Yeah, it's not far. So I think you could probably really change things. And the other thing that I would think you would do, Rick, this is a great opportunity for your daughter to when she has an opportunity to buy some of these buildings as they come up for sale. You could end up owning a big part of the street, because I'm not sure if you understand, Shannon, the value that you're creating through your pub by doing all this cool stuff that you're doing will spill over into the community. Why shouldn't that extra value you're creating accrue to you and your husband? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
So
there's this one gentleman who owns about 30 to 40% of Shelbourne, and he's doing just that, expanding and putting in more apartments and condos. And
yeah, well then there's still 60% of it that you could buy. For
sure, there's an opportunity.
And I think the biggest challenge here for you will be the decision at some point. Are you going to get in the boat, the entrepreneurial boat, and paddle to the other side of the Pacific Ocean, or are you going to stay with your corporate job? Do you have any idea what you're going to do?
Based off this conversation, I'm probably going to stick with my corporate job.
Really? Why is that?
Because everything looks at expansion, finances, and time, which I just don't have. So starting off a new business.
Mm-hmm.
So we're limited.
Eva, over to you.
You don't have time because you've got that corporate job.
Well, right now I don't have the corporate job, and I'm already pressed for time.
Oh, like
I'm on maternity leave right now.
So
and that was a really good opportunity to see for myself if A, I would be able to handle it, B, how much time this business of only 28 seats is really taking. And to Bruce's point, as a true entrepreneur, you're all in. You have to be, especially in a small community like this. My presence has proven the point that I have to be there. I have a team of 6 that help Gurdeep and I run this bar when we aren't there. And as a business owner, you're always, like, I just got a text from my employee just now about tomorrow. Like, you're always on call. You're always dealing with something. But for me to be, my name is on that billboard. I am the brand to that bar. Whether I put a microbrewery in, whether I, make a beautiful patio, whether I put in a garage door in the front, it is my face that's going to sell. How do I say this politically correct? Like, I could pump out anything, whether it be great or bad, right? And it's my face on that billboard that has to sell it. Nobody else can do that but me.
So does that mean you're going to sell the pub?
I think that's going to have to be it.
Okay. I as an entrepreneur myself, and I don't know if I'm speaking for your dad or other people on the call, that is a disappointing outcome, but it is a perfectly valid outcome, Shannon. If you decide that you can't put the time in, you don't like the risk profile of being an entrepreneur, and you're just, this whole idea of going down the Pacific, riding your little boat across the Pacific Ocean is too daunting, then you should continue to build the business and then sell it, right? And just take your money off the table.
I'm only 7.5 months in,
yeah.
Right? So I think that I still need to get a full year in to really really understand what I miss May and June, right? So I miss half the critical months of the year. So I think that I can't really make the decision right now, and once that debt does deplete, which it will once we finish paying everything off, which is 18 months, I'd say. So like probably by the end of this year, everything would be paid off. Wow. I may be able to take that leap and leave my corporate job, but I think I've just got to grow a pair to be able to make that decision. Because when you've got 4 kids and a roof to,
I
provide for them,
understand that.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm very sympathetic, but this is a very, 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 I think this coaching session actually probably helped. It may not feel like it helped, but I think it did. It certainly opens up all kinds of possibilities, many of which you had already thought of. And I mean, only you can make this decision. Coaches can help, but they're not your boss. You are the boss of you. And it's going to be a tough decision. But one of the things I would say, Shannon, is that many people in your position, what they do is they decide to bring in a partner. Now, you've probably heard this expression before. There are 2 chairs in heaven waiting for the first 2 partners to get there and still like each other. Okay, what that means is what that means in English is that having a partner is probably the worst idea.
Okay.
Am I making any sense at all?
Yep.
Like right now, if you want to make you want to offer a special, you don't have to consult with anyone. You just make up your mind and you just do it, right?
Yeah, like my husband, but
yeah, well, your husband, you can't divorce him, okay? No divorcing in this group.
I was gonna say,
no divorcing. No, I'm not. When I talk about a partner, I'm not talking about a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter.
Right.
I'm talking about what a lot of people do when they are suffering from anxiety and financial worries and not wanting to take the risk of leaving their job, is they say, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll have a partner. The partner will buy in and he or she will run the place and life will be good. I'll just sit there and collect, dividends. It doesn't work in almost every case. And so I think you have to make a decision at some point, and I would support the direction you're going in, that you will wait until you're 1 year into the business or 18 months into the business until you've written off some or paid back some of that debt that's worrying you, and then you'll make a decision. But the time to sell is before you need to sell.
Okay.
And the time to sell is when you're doing well, not when you're doing poorly. And when you said to me that you have time because you're on maternity leave and your sales are going up exponentially, that's because you're there. And if you're not there, if somebody else is there running it, it will probably be, excuse my language, everybody, it'll probably be a shit show. And so, you have some hard decisions to take.
Yeah.
And if you want to circle back to me or to Eva or to Nick or Simon or Rick, did I miss anybody? Anybody on the call here tonight, you're welcome to, if you want to run, some thoughts by us. But I want to tell you, I'm really impressed with the work you're doing. And I want to tell you that we could have a network of entrepreneurs who are all talking to each other at 3 o'clock in the morning, because you're not the only person suffering from anxiety and stress. Okay. Almost every entrepreneur I know is up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We can all be calling each other.
For sure.
All right, so I want you to feel that you've got good company. All right,
Thank you.
You've got some hard thoughts hard decisions to make. All right, Angela, we're going to hear from you now. And do you want to give us a little summary? I have something that I prepared, but this time, Angela, you're going to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you want to do, what your thoughts are, what your fears are. And Simon, I'm going to come to you, and then Nick first, and then I'll go to Rick and Eva, and then I'll chip in.
Okay, a little bit about me. I've been in nursing for 19 years. I'm a single mom, 3 kids, and Eva's my mom, for those of you who don't know. So Mom and I have always talked about sort of venturing off and starting like a home care business, but as like in my form that I filled out, like that's not really my interests. My interests are more, I love the outdoors. I love design, interior decorating, that sort of thing. But being in the position I am with my family, and being a single parent, I haven't really, I have to do what I have to do to make my ends meet. So that's basically, that's basically been my life. Just doing what I had to do to make sure that we have a roof over our head. But I'm tired and I'm bored. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do next, to kind of give me some stability, with retirement coming eventually.
Have you heard this one, Angela, that you can retire 5 years after you die?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the Freedom 95 plan, and I think probably most of us are. Angela, just so you know, something I said to Shannon, and I'll say it to you as well, that, I get a lot, I've coached hundreds of people, and a lot of people come to me and they tell me, I don't love my wife anymore, or I don't love my husband anymore, or I don't love my boyfriend anymore, or whatever. And when you actually ask them and you work with them a little bit, you find out that almost inevitably, when you boil it all down to the kernel of what's bugging people, it's financial.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't love them anymore. It's just that you've got somebody calling you at 3:00 in the morning saying, Angela, Miss O'Grady, when can we expect payment on your credit card? That's very stressful.
Very.
And worrying about whether you can pay your rent this month or your mortgage this month is very stressful. So when I do coaching with this group, we do business coaching and real estate investment coaching. The real crux of what we're doing is we're trying to help people solve those financial issues. Because once you solve the financial issues and you've got a steady, predictable cash flow, you can pay your bills, you're not overextended, then everything else tends to get better. If you have a problem with alcohol, you have a problem with drugs, you're getting mad at your kid, you're not really mad at your kid, you're mad at the fact that you can't buy your kid a new bike.
Yeah.
And so I think for everybody on this call, we shouldn't BS ourselves, all right? As coaches, we should not BS ourselves, because our job is to help people. And we can't just listen to the superficial, I don't love them anymore, I want to get divorced. When you get it all down and you fix the financial issues, he looks a lot better.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Oh, it totally does.
All right. So Simon, over to you.
Well, the number one thing I would say in this situation is that you need, whatever you decide to do, whatever you plan on doing, it needs to be a passion. You got to make sure that the first and foremost, because any business is going to require some level of growth from you, and in order to do that and get through any hard times a business has, you really got to have passion for it. So you were mentioning interior design is something along those lines, and I think that what you should try and do, and as a coach anyway, this is just sort of a speculative, but combining something along the lines of what you currently do with your existing client base, with offering them complimentary services for what they might want or need in their property. For instance, if you're what exactly is it that you do again? You're a caretaker or?
Yeah, I'm a PSW / behavior support. I work with a lot of Alzheimer's, dementia, geriatrics. I'm in geriatrics, but with my behavior support, I have to say, with people coming into the homes, I help them decorate their rooms. I help them feel like they're at home. Just integrate all that so that they're comfortable in where they are.
Yeah. So I mean, then you all the services you provide as a caretaker, you go to these people's homes in general. They don't come to you.
I actually work in a long-term facility.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. I've been there 19 years, so.
Oh, wow. Oh, very cool. And I'm sure you have people that are looking for you, right? A lot of your clients, they're built around that person they've come to know over the years and years. So But what I would try and do is incorporate some of what you like doing, such as interior design is the one thing that I kind of stuck on, and see how you can apply that in a complementary way towards, your whole base, which would be the long-term care facility.
So Simon,
yeah.
I'm going to show you and Angela something on my screen, because you banged it out of the park there, I think, brother. So what, Angela, what Simon is getting at is find your why, and I think you already have done that. And when you find your why, right, it's an amazingly powerful moment in your life. Listen to this carefully, okay? Mark Twain said, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. All right, that is a very, very, very important comment. And to be honest with you, Angela, I searched for my why for a long time. You know, I've been a hockey guy. I was a developer. I was a university professor. You name it, I've done it. But I didn't find my why until I was 61 years of age, which is kind of late. I didn't actually find it. I had some help from a life coach, and she helped me find it. And so here's my why. I just put it up on the screen for you. What? I'm a real estate investment and business coach. How? I help people learn how to be more successful real estate investors and how to build their very own personal business for life. Why? I believe that the only practical way most people can take care of themselves and their families and thus avoid crushing poverty for 3 generations is by owning and controlling their own personal business for life and via successful real estate investing portfolio. So that's really what I want you to work on after this call is over. It doesn't have to be tonight. You can have the rest of your wine tonight, but finding your why, and I think you've already done that, because I listened very carefully to what you said tonight and also what you wrote. And I think this outdoor thing is really a big deal. And I'm going to come back to that. But this is kind of what you want to do. Does that make sense, Angela? Mm-hmm. You want to find your why, and then it's just, and then it just becomes going to work every day. You know, I get up every day, and I would say out of 365 days, probably 362 of them, I'm super keen to get up and get to work. And that's what we want you to do. We also want you to make sure that whatever it is that you do, you make money at it.
Okay.
Right? So it's both, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So Simon, that was excellent. Nick, your turn.
I don't have a lot to add to what Simon said, but one idea that sort of popped in my head of a way that you can craft yourself and start tomorrow is, do you live in Ottawa? I'm assuming you do.
Yes.
And close to your mom. Your mom's a real estate agent, right, Eva?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a service that I use, I work in Ottawa myself. Bruce does too. Simon does too. And any residential listing that comes out of my personal database, is rare that I sell houses these days, but I always have a home stager going, and that's a business you can bootstrap. You don't need any significant amount of anything really, just a keen eye for design and understanding, you know, the concepts of what a staged home should look like versus a lived-in home, right? And one of the stagers I've used a lot, you can look her up on Facebook. Her name is Micheline Maison. And she's started her business pretty much exactly what you're doing.
What was her last name? Sorry.
Maison, Masson, I think. I don't know if there's an E. There might be an E on it.
Alrighty.
But she started, I actually recruited her at the time I was managing a real estate office. And I brought her in to pitch to the agents, and she does pretty much all the staging in the east end of Ottawa now. Like, she's huge.
And I think that is a brilliant idea and suggestion, Nick. And I would take it one step further, Angela. If you became a home stager and you got to use some of your really cool, arty, design flair personality, you would also do Airbnb fit-ups.
Well, it's funny because my girlfriend purchased property in Barbados, and I've been helping her with
Yep.
setting it up.
So what's really cool about Nick's idea is that most of the home stagers are staging homes for people who are trying to sell them. Well, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big market. But a huge and incredibly fast-growing market is all kinds of people who have real money, all kinds of investors who have huge portfolios, excuse me, but they need somebody to select the furniture, select the art on the walls, put the plates and the pots and the pans, and do all of that. Do you understand?
Yes, totally.
Does that make sense, Nick, as an additional item?
Yeah, absolutely. And the beauty of it is, again, you can keep your day job and you schedule around your hours, right? And my sister's a PSW, so I understand the hours are extremely demanding, but there's also, you have a limited lifespan in that business because your body can only lift so many times, right? So finding a way out of that, I think to start now it's just as easy as just getting your name out there and really kind of shaping the business.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to it, but that is a hell of an idea. Okay, thank you very much, Nick. Really great job. You can see, Angela, we have two Simon cases, but the one with less hair is actually Nick.
Okay.
All right. So, Rick, over to you.
I think everything. Wow, you have to play to your strengths, and I absolutely agree with what was said. Is that you have to be passionate about what you do, because as Bruce said, he gets up every morning and can't wait to start work. You can't hate your job or your business or whatever. You have to really love it. I love real estate. I'm into the office early in the morning. I have a passion for it. It's fantastic. So if PSWs, you've got 19 years in, which means you know what you're doing. You're very good at it at this point. To one of the explanations I gave about a week ago to somebody was there's two positions you can take. You can either continue looking up, or you can take the position of looking down and getting a better overview. And if you can get that perspective, instead of looking up, like, poor me, oh, I have to go to work and everything. If you can take the perspective of just looking down, and you do this in your mind, look down, and your options will become all of a sudden very clear. I'm a big believer in playing to your strengths. So if you're burnt out in the PSW thing, maybe it's time, it's like a teeter-totter, transition into something where you have the passion. The other thing is there money in it? You certainly, you can go into interior decorating, staging. My opinion of both of those industries is it is a pyramid, and there's a few people on the top that are making really big bucks, and there's a lot of people underneath that, and not so much. So selling scented candles is somebody's passion, but can you make money at it? Go into something that's going to be lucrative. And if that's interior decorating, then stick with Bruce, and he will coach you or your mom and walk you through, exactly what to do, who, what, where, when, why, and start developing that. But I believe that you probably should stay in the PSW thing until that really starts to pay off. There's good news and bad news. The good news is you will go into your passion. The bad news is, for a period of time, you're going to have to work at 120%. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to give due labor to your PSW job, and you're also going to have to give a certain amount of respect and effort toward the new business you're starting up. So for a short period of time, before you can transition from one thing to another, you will be working hard. How old are your children?
25, 22, and 16.
You're good to go. they can take care of them. They're not 3 and 5. You know?
No. I started early. So my kids are pretty self-sufficient. But going back to the passion, how I was saying I was doing the behavior support at the facility I'm at right now. So I'm actually kind of doing a bit of the interior design because they're allowing me to turn.
That's
it's
great.
Very, yeah, it's a fairly new building, and it's very institutionalized. So they want it homey. So with they're allowing me to make spaces like home spaces, turning the spa, or I call them spa rooms now opposed to tub rooms. And I've decorated. We have 9 units. I've decorated 4 of them.
Wow.
Are you getting paid for that?
No.
Okay, so part of the coaching would be transition yourself into gaining income from what you're already doing, and you're passionate about it, and it's great. You're getting paid from the PSW, but we'll find a way, or you find a way to start getting paid for what you're already doing. Right now, you're doing it pro bono. You're doing it for free.
Yeah, basically. I am.
I really think, though, one more comment. I really think that you're in a very unique, incredible position. The baby boomers, for what you're doing, the baby boomers are getting older as we go along, and you have 19 years experience at handling all of this stuff. That market is only going to get bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to stay in the PSW, I think you're positioned really, really well to take advantage of that obviously growing industry.
Okay.
That's excellent, Rick. Eva, you're going to get to have the last word, because I know you like to have the last word. Well, hey,
you know
Rick,
my mother well.
what woman doesn't? And I'm going to get in trouble here. So I'll come back to you, Eva. But Angela, I'm going to show you some slides. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. This is a renovation that my wife did very recently, and some of the people on this call would have been in my my garage office. I literally have a garage, or had a garage office. I just promoted myself a few weeks ago. But can you see this garage door here on the screen?
Yeah.
This is an insulated garage door. It still works as a garage door, but it's actually an R12 insulated door, and it has a man door in it, or a person door. Can you see that here? Yeah. And so what we did, or my wife did, I didn't do it. What my wife did was she converted the garage from an office after I left it to an Airbnb. Okay? So, and we call this place the Hideaway. It's in a garage. It's a hideaway, right? So you come in here and you can see that she's furnished it. It's got a gas fireplace here. She added a micro kitchen here. Can you see that?
No.
Over here? Can you see it over here, Angela, on my screen?
I don't see any kitchen.
Okay, it's probably because something's in the way, right?
I think so.
See if I can move some of this over. Does that help?
No.
Angela, if you take, do you see like a slide of all our faces?
Yeah.
Is that on the right-hand side?
Yes. Get rid of that.
Yeah, just move it. Just go to the top. Go to the top and move it over.
Or you can minimize it.
Then you don't see my beautiful face.
Oh, wait.
Go right to the very, very top.
I see.
Of the panel, and you put your cursor on it, and you can just move it.
Okay, I see it now.
All right, so you can see the micro kitchen there, and you see there's a little bit of wall art.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you notice the LED lights here?
Mm-hmm.
So light scenes are very important. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll show you a couple more slides. I don't have many. So maybe that's a better view of the kitchen.
Oh, that's much better.
Okay, and you can see we didn't put a dining room in. It's a tiny little micro suite, but we put a lunch counter in here. And again, more wall art. And you've got some cabinetry here. And now you may not be able to see it, Angela, but there's a bedroom here.
Yeah, I can see everything.
So you've got a bedroom, and it's got lots of technology in it. So it's got internet, Wi-Fi, Spotify, Netflix, Crave TV, HBO, Showtime. You know, it's got a lot of cool stuff. It's got a stacked washer and dryer. Can you see that?
Yes.
And it's got a quite a nice bathroom.
Oh, yes. Very nice.
So the reason I show you that is there is a real business here. You know, for somebody like me, I'm a real estate guy like your dad, and I own a number of properties. Not many, but I own some. And if I had to fit up this thing for Airbnb, there's not a chance in the world that I would ever do it. I just don't have the time or the bandwidth to go out and select all the different stuff, the furniture, the sheeting, the bedding, etc. And I have an incredible number of clients who are moving into the Airbnb space, and they don't have the time either.
Okay.
And if they had somebody like you who would charge, you know, a certain amount of money, as Rick was saying, it's very important to make some money, who has some taste, right? This would be in addition to the home staging that Nick suggested, this would be a really good business for you.
Okay.
And it wouldn't take you very long to find some clients, because people going into the Airbnb thing, this is one of the big things that would, you know, keep you away from that, or sorry, keep them away from it. The other thing is that if you were doing a lot of this Airbnb stuff, you might also offer to manage their Airbnb for them.
Okay.
And Eva, do you have that link that I sent where we did how to profit from Airbnb?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Angela, what we did, what Eva and I did with the rest of the co-coaches, is we did a whole session on how to profit from Airbnb, and we recorded it. And I'm going to ask your mom to forward on that. It's unlisted on YouTube, but you should watch it, okay?
Okay.
So I think that I'm with Rick on this. There are a lot of home stagers. There's a lot of realtors, but there's not a lot of home stagers doing Airbnb.
Okay.
And a natural extension for you is to also offer the same clients, hey, listen, do you want to manage Airbnb, or do you want me to manage it for you? Because just so you know, you can make anywhere from 15 to 25% of the revenues that you book in Airbnb as a co-host, as an Airbnb manager for somebody else.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So the Hideaway here makes about $1,500 a month. That's what we're currently, that's our run rate right now. And if you were managing for us, we would probably pay you 18% of that. So for you to manage the Airbnb aspect of this, you would get about 18% of those revenues. So 18% of $1,500 is about $300 a month, a little bit less. Okay. And if you had 10 of those places, you know, that's $3,000 a month just from Airbnb management, and that would be an addition. I'm just suggesting that it's something you could do.
That sounds good.
and I have a couple of clients who do third-party Airbnb management, and I started coaching them. One fellow was a recent immigrant from Haiti. This is about 3 years ago. He had no money, nice man, but no money, and his beautiful wife, Priya, had a job she hated in the government, and they started doing third-party Airbnb management. They make about $12,000 a month doing that now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Phenol and Priya told me that they think they're on track within a couple of years to be between $15,000 and $20,000 a month.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a really nice number, right?
Yeah.
And the other aspect of this, as you get better at it, if you did decide to do this, the other aspect that you might consider getting into is actually the furniture rental business. So that you would get paid, you know, to fit up an Airbnb place, but you'd actually have another revenue stream in addition to running Airbnb, and that revenue stream would be your own furniture rental. Right? You could actually, you could say to a host, listen, you pay me, you know, whatever it is, $3,000. I'll do all the work. You don't have to do anything. I'll spec everything. And here's the other thing: I can rent you all this furniture. You know, if you want to pay me another.
I've heard of that before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have another client who does that, and again, it's a very profitable business, furniture rental, because once it's paid off, it's just gravy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I had something else.
Bruce?
Rick, did you want to say something?
That actually ties into the home staging also.
Exactly. No, absolutely. So, Angela, I also had something else I wanted to show you. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, Eva, I need the drum roll.
Oh, hang on. Oh,
Mom,
That's the most pathetic drum roll ever.
much better, Mom.
Okay.
sorry.
So this one is completely off the wall. And if you think I'm certifiable, there's about 30,000 other people in Ottawa who think I'm certifiable anyway. They're called Maple Leaf fans. So Angela, here's another idea. You ready? Okay, I got to show you.
Okay.
There's a business here which combines your love of design with your love of the outdoors, and it's a business. And it's a backyard makeover business. So in addition to doing the home staging, maybe the Airbnb staging, the furniture rental business, the Airbnb co-hosting that we talked about, you could also offer a service to turn people's backyards into a playland. There is tremendous demand for this. And again, you would be decorating the backyards. And it could be backyards of seniors too, because keeping seniors outside in nature and active is incredibly important. And you know that better than I do.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So you could have a backyard like this one, which has outdoor ping pong. Do you know the game pickleball?
No.
Well, there you go. Outdoor pickleball.
Okay.
Do you know this is a big NFL tailgating thing, the bean toss game. It's a cornhole. Outdoor televisions. They make televisions now that you full sun, you can still see them.
Okay.
How about this for an outdoor entertainment area?
That's amazing.
Amazing. People are doing incredible things with their backyards.
Wow.
This is very inexpensive gnome bowl. They call this gnome bowling, where you knock over the gnomes. This is bocce. Here's bocce, Rick.
Yeah.
There's
I
bocce.
didn't know what the bocce was. Yeah.
Angela, you may not believe this, but one of the guys I coach, Nick Bott, runs a company called the Pond Clinic. This is somebody's backyard.
That's beautiful.
This is a nature pond. He creates these. He gets paid somewhere between $80,000 and $250,000 to do these.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge business, and that is somebody's backyard. This is not a cottage in the Muskokas. This is somebody's backyard in the city.
Oh my goodness.
This was done by my client, Nick Bott. This is Nick's daughter. It's a swimming pond. It's got fish in it. It's got all kinds of nature in it, but it's a natural pond. He's creating these backyards. He's creating things that are incredible. Obviously, you could do badminton, outdoor ping pong. I already mentioned that. This is a playland. This is a picture I took of a playland, which was really cool when I was in Portugal last year. This is obviously a little bit bigger. A council ring. Everyone loves music and fire, right? And smoking weed.
Yeah.
Or in Rick's case, drinking. How about outdoor movies? So I'm not going to go into any more detail, but I think, was that helpful, Angela?
Very, very.
There's a lot of things that you could do. So you could be the guru of, of creating indoor and outdoor places. And there's a lot of people who really, really don't know how to do it, but you could become a true expert at it. And that's a real business. All of this combined, Afino and Priya, who, they're young people, but if you had met them 3 years ago, they literally were fresh off the boat. Priya from Poland and Fino from Haiti. And Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And they now send me postcards from Paris.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was helpful, but I think there is
most definitely
a way for you to find your why and make it profitable. And I would think you could certainly do $10,000 or $15,000 a month without having to kill yourself. All right, Eva, last word to you before we go on to Sean.
Everybody was talking about interior decorating, And I was thinking to myself, what about curb appeal? You know, you have to design something, decorate the outdoor, not just the backyard, but the front yard too. Make it more appealing.
Wow. Wow, that's a big deal. Rick, did you see did Eva just hit a home run?
Yay!
Did I hear the sound of the bat? No, I'm not kidding, Eva. That is a freaking great idea, because I don't know any home stager who does that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the first thing you see, right?
Exactly. The first impressions.
The first impression, if you're looking to buy a home and the outside looks drabby, you're most likely not really interested to go inside, because you think, oh, this is what it looks like on the outside. I can only imagine what it looks like inside. So, sorry, I've got to get rid of my dogs. They're making lots of noise. Hey, outside. Come on.
I think
we're going to see the last of Angela. When she comes back, her shirt will be torn, you know. Blood over her face.
I have two very rowdy dogs.
You certainly do.
I wanted to tell you about an idea, Bruce, that I had for Angela, and it kind of encompasses everything. Is I wanted her and me to open up a senior daycare center where people would take, the parents are still living at home, but the adult children are too afraid to leave them at home during the day while they're at work. So I thought, you know, buy this house, Angela could decorate it inside and, you know, make it accessible, wheelchair, yada, yada, yada. And then do her PSW stuff inside. But she wants to get away from the PSW, so maybe she could be manager of operations and hire the younger PSW to do that.
I really like that idea. Now, I'll tell you something else, Eva and Angela. Clients of mine in a small town in Northern Ontario started a 24/7, 365 daycare for kids. And she was in a very similar situation to you, Angela. She's a single mom. I think she has 3 kids. And, you know, she started this. It has been an incredible success, like a mind-numbing success. I just can't believe the numbers. She's got 3 of them now. She owns 3 of them, on her way to many more, I think, because there's lots of daycare that you can get from, you know, sort of 8 in the morning till 5:30 at night, but that's it. And how many people are nurses, PSWs, police officers, firefighters, you know, paramedics? I mean, you know.
That was one of my biggest problems, actually, when I started.
So you know, even Angela, even on Christmas Day, you can drop your kids off. If you're a police officer and you have a shift, you could drop your kids off, and it's been an incredible success. So if you were to do a seniors daycare, it would be, in my opinion anyway, a 24/7, 365 place, because again, it's very important for you to differentiate yourselves. And that's what people want. They want to be able to put, you know, Aunt Bessie somewhere safe while they go off to Belize and party.
Yeah.
Right. And they just, you know, they just can't leave her, you know, in the in-law suite by herself. You know, she'll burn down the house. So, you know, I really like that idea. That's a strong idea too. All right. So just one more thing, Eva, I'm sorry about the seasickness going on here, but I wanted to show this to you guys. Can you see this picture, Angela, on my screen here?
Yeah.
So this is something that actually I think started in Detroit, but I could be wrong about it. But in terms of improving curb appeal, this particular idea is to put old phone booths on properties with a nice table and chairs or picnic table next to it, where people can leave a book and take a book. So these are actually little tiny libraries in neighborhoods, all right? And they've been doing this now. It's gone around the world. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
No, that is so neat.
Do you see it here, Angela?
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of, like what, Eva, did you just come up with that idea like tonight?
Yes, I did.
Because
The interior decorator.
no, but I mean, if you
Major
could come,
do-
Angela, if you could come up with, a dozen really cool ideas that aren't too expensive, that could improve the curb appeal of a house and differentiate it, it really helps people like Rick and I and Nick and Simon and Eva sell houses.
Yeah.
And that is a fantastic idea. I can't believe nobody's done that. And I can't believe I didn't figure it out. But I'm not too proud to steal your idea, Eva. That's a really good idea.
You're not stealing it. It's mine.
Bruce,
I'm going to
is
trademark it.
there
Right
a
now.
membership fee for this?
No, it's take a book, leave a book.
They
So-
actually have very small, they're like large mailboxes.
No, those are telephone booths.
I
Oh,
know.
In Ottawa, I've seen where the mailboxes are, yay big. You could probably fit about.
No, these are not mailboxes. I'm sorry, guys. These are the old telephone booths.
I know.
But it's the same idea.
Yeah, the same idea. But what people are doing in Detroit, because Detroit needs to be animated. What people are doing in Detroit is they're putting these phone booths in with books, leave a book, take a book, but they're also putting little reading areas there. So what happens is people, in my neighborhood, there's a lot of people walking their dogs. They stop. Oh, they say, well, that's not kind of interesting. They actually sit down and they talk to each other. Who knew?
Yeah.
All right, so we got to move on. Was that helpful, Angela?
Yes, very much.
All right, thank you for that. Sean, are you going to start up your camera now?
I am indeed. Give me one moment.
Yeah, no problem. You just put your cursor kind of in the middle of the Zoom window, and at the bottom left, it'll say Start Video.
Yeah, no, but my low battery just kicked on, so I had to run to go grab my charger.
No problem. Take your time.
We'll plug it in.
Rick will keep drinking.
Perfect.
Oh, he's drinking water. I switched from the wine.
Does that mean I have to stop?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think you do actually. At least for another 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, so. We'll see. All right, and I think I got it. We're good?
Okay, so, there he is. Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen. Just give me a second here. I'll boot up something. And I'm gonna turn it over to you in a second, Sean.
Surely.
So Sean wrote me this, okay? I edited a little bit so it would be more polite, but it was pretty much what Sean said. What would Sean like to discuss tonight? How to attract higher net worth clients. What are his core skills? He's very personable. He's got good organizational skills. He's very motivated. He likes to sell and sell value. He can take cold contacts and develop them into acquaintances and then friends, which is a very important skill, Sean. And what is holding him back? What is holding Sean back at this time in his career is time spent dealing with lower income clients. He spent a lot of time focusing on individuals that don't align with his picture of an ideal client. And he's in a commission-only world. So unless you can get some big fish to help them with their financial planning, you're probably not going to make a whole lot of money. And he would like to land some 500-pound tunas. That means people who need his services but have, significant investment. So Sean, do you want to just expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So in terms of the challenges in this business is you're constantly meeting people. And that's why I say the ability to be personable and interact with people. If you can't do that, like you're done. And now I've been in this industry for coming up on this, it'll be 9 years this fall.
Wow.
And so in the beginning it was part-time basis. And so I was in oil and gas. That was my background. That's what I went to school for. I'm from Alberta originally. And so out in that area, you're more than likely going to be going into something oil and gas focused. And so again, I did my thing. It's like, yeah, I listened to my dad, and you listen to family, and you listen to friends. Yeah, you go do what you're supposed to do. Sure. After graduating, get a job, so on and so forth. The typical story. You get 2 years in and you realize like, this sucks. This sucks. But I had a 6-month-old daughter. I had a mortgage. I couldn't exactly just go and, okay, I'm going to go try and do something new, because I can totally resonate with what Shannon's saying, is that, listen, like you know, keeping the home team intact, that's priority one, right? Would I love to do something that I love and make piles of money? Absolutely. But I'm going to continue to, again, I feel like this is a bit of an open forum, and, you know, we can use language that we feel is appropriate. I'm going to continue to eat shit, even though I don't like it, because it's going to make sure that the mortgage is paid, and it's going to make sure that the house is warm, and there's food in the fridge, and there's gas in the car. And that's what you got to do. But at the same time, I knew that there needed to be a change, like something more needed to come along. And again, whether energetically or whatnot, the solution did come. And I was introduced to a good friend of mine now, who was dating a gal who was cousins with a buddy I grew up with. And so that's how I got introduced to financial services. And originally it was from the aspect of, okay, you know what, I know a little bit. I a self-taught investor. I was okay. And I wanted to learn more. And so in the beginning, it was just, you know what, I'm going to go for the free education, basically. And so I ended up taking the course, and it was like $300, arguably the best $300 I'll ever spend in my entire life when it comes to education side, because I learned not all the ins and outs, but a massive, massive portion of the financial world. Since then, again, I've tacked on, add on, taken courses, so on and so forth. And so in the beginning, it was very, very part-time. And when you're only able to plug in 3, 4, 5 hours a week, your business can only grow at such a level. And as time went on, I got a little bit more confident, and my skills continued to grow. But my clientele was still kind of sitting in the 25 to 35-year-old range. They're, you know, they've got maybe, you know, a couple $100 at the end of the month. It just wasn't exactly picking up steam. And so in 2016, I was graciously departed by the oil and gas company that I worked with. I started out as a field guy with them, junior, never been on a rig before. I worked all the way through being a junior, intermediate, senior. They then promoted me into sales. I did sales for a couple of years, and then they made me operations manager. And I was literally running the company's operations worldwide, with the exception of the United States, which had its own base. And I did that in about 4 years. Wow. And so I did it because I don't like making small amounts of money. I want to make more money. And I'm going to do what I got to do, and I'm going to continue to eat shit until I can get there. And I did that, and I sacrificed, and I worked, and I worked, and I worked, and it was eventually recognized. And then oil and gas gets its teeth kicked in. I don't want to say a golden handshake, but I got a good handshake. And so, much like Shannon says, she's on mat leave. And so that was an opportunity for me, as I was on EI. And I basically had 12 months paid for. That's a good deal. I'm like, all right, we're going to pour gas on this fire. We're going to get this machine rolling. And so I was plugging and grinding. And I would go to networking events, and I'd prospect here and I'd prospect there. And it just would never, ever stop. And things would pick up, and then they would slow down. And then they'd pick up, and then it would slow down. And I use the analogy of pushing a snowball. Right? When you're pushing a snowball and you get it rolling, it starts to pick up more snow, which is good, but it gets a little bit heavier and harder to push, and you got to keep it rolling. And anybody who's ever built a snowman in a schoolyard knows that the second you stop pushing and it stops, it's massively difficult to get it going again. And so I hear what Shannon's saying in terms of, right, that difficulty, but if she takes the foot off the gas, it's going to be much harder to get it going again. And I've hit that point in this business multiple times. And again, right, the perseverance is there, and the goal, the drive, the desire to bring that kind of value to people. I literally get paid to show people how to save more money. That's a sweet deal, right? But I don't know if it's a disconnect with the rest of the industry, or people have been burned in the past, or people just think I'm a liar. I don't know. Maybe they don't think I have it in their best interest. And that's why I'm very, very unique when it comes to the rest of the advisors in the industry, because I'm not here to sell you, right? Can I sell you? Sure. It's not my ideal route because it doesn't do any good, right? If people need something, they're going to ask. And if I demonstrate the value of something, they're probably going to be like, well, that sounds good. I want that. Okay, perfect. We'll have the conversation. And so the challenge that I've encountered is if you're not constantly doing that in a larger net worth market, you're dealing with a lot of, right, I've got $25 at the end of the month. Okay, well, and again, I want to help these people because they need the help. But to be honest, that's literally no incentive for me to take the meeting. It's like literally isn't. Imagine if, because I gather a lot of people are realtors on here. Imagine if you only got calls from people that had $15,000 houses to sell.
Sounds like Windsor.
Hey, we got some stuff going on. Don't worry. Don't you worry. There's some good action going down here.
I'm just teasing you, Sean. So I get the problem, all right, and it's we're dealing as best we can in limited time and with limited information. So if we kind of miss the mark once in a while, Sean, I apologize. Nick, I was wondering if I could turn to you. Sean is in the financial services industry. He doesn't want to sell people useless products that they don't need, that don't suit them, that don't suit their family. So his heart's in the right place, but he needs to make more money. He wants to make more money. It's a little bit frustrating where he's at right now with a lot of small minnows. Nothing wrong with somebody who wants to invest $25 a month. It's just that Sean can't make a living with 1,000 clients each investing $25. So, Nick, what would you suggest?
Well, I'm actually quite. I've been there. So, when I started in real estate, which is about 9 years ago, a lot of my clients were small condominiums. So I lived in an area that you had the really, really rich, and you had the very, very poor. In fact, probably one of the bigger ghettos in Ottawa. It's where all our shootings happen. So, my first condo I sold is on Jasmine Crescent, which means nothing to you, but I sold that for, I think it was $98,000. This was my first deal. And that year I continually did that. But I realized quickly the neighborhood I lived in, and I don't know how applicable this is in the financial world, but instead of networking in the groups where you would find those type of clients, I have 3 kids myself. I just started getting involved as much as I could in the community, because you do get a mix in those communities of the uber rich and the lower parts of society, and then just making sure that the wealthy people saw that I was also helping the people that weren't as well off. That in turn kind of gave me some credibility and grew my business. So I mean, my first and second year, I think my max sale value was about $230,000, and then by my 4th year, I'd averaged that out to about $500,000.
Wow!
And now, I mean, I haven't worked out the averages lately, but I would say we're probably over $1 million on the average sale that we deal with. So, there's no quick fix. It's just making sure that you're networking in the right areas, and your name is spreading in the people that have money. So we talked about BIAs earlier. Those are good places to start. You have business owners, generally they have money. Real estate investment groups. So in Ottawa, we have a thing called Oreo. Usually you'll find folks there that aren't necessarily real estate agents. You'll find real estate agents in there prospecting for leads, but you can smell those guys a mile away, which is why I tend to not go. But I will go as, more along the lines of investment. So I'll help investors out. improving the cap rates on their portfolios and that sort of thing. And that creates value in and of itself. And they refer you to their friends that have bigger portfolios. And, and I just had a call this afternoon, a guy he's actually a real estate agent. I haven't even talked to Bruce about this yet, but he doesn't know what to do. He's got a portfolio of $18 million worth of real estate in a new development. And he's asking me for advice. I'm like, well, my advice would be that you can co-broke it.
Let me do it. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'll give him little tips and tricks, but you can't sell the farm for nothing. So I definitely get that. But people, you do start to gain respect. You do start to gain some notoriety amongst your peers. And if somebody talks about, I have this low performing portfolio, I got $5 million I need to distribute out in the financial world some way. Do you know a guy? Then they'll think about you, right? I know guys, and that's where dealing with the smaller files is actually to your benefit, because you learn how to make that $25 make 200. Well, if you can do that, then you could probably work with 5 million. You're a lot less likely to do something stupid or risky, and you can build a conservative portfolio. Again, I'm speaking from a world I know nothing about the financial world other than the world I live in. But that's how I managed to boost up my portfolio as far as my clientele goes.
And that's like, I completely agree with you. Because again, does everybody deserve the help? Absolutely, yes. Yeah. That's why we put on class, like literally in the other room right now, we were putting on a free class teaching investment planning, and there was like 16 people in the room, and they're all there because we're not here to tell you. We put on the free classes. We do it every single Wednesday. Oh. We run a 6-class series. Number 5 is real estate. And we specifically put it on because most people don't know this stuff. Like, there's literally realtors that are in the room that have never heard of a HELOC before. I have no idea why. Yeah. But again, it's a solution. They've never heard of the Smith principle, which again, is it a useful tool? I would argue one of the best tools for any real estate investor in the world, because why not? The equity is sitting in the house. Why leave it there? Because the bank's more than happy to sit on that big bag of cash because they're more than willing to do something with it. So why not do it myself? Yeah. And every time we share that and you hear a new person that's just like, wow, I never even knew that existed. Perfect. Who can you tell me, or whose name can you pass me that would probably agree that they've never heard of that before, that has a real estate, or that has a place, that has 2 places, that has 5 places, right? Yeah. And so I'm waiting, right? You need to just keep pouring in, and eventually.
Sean, what Nick is saying though is really important, because in the real estate business, by developing a really close relationship with a number of successful realtors, you're going to build a big referral network for yourself. But in addition to that, as people get older, once they sell some of their real estate, so if Nick Cripps sells somebody's portfolio for $17 or $18 million, what are they going to do with it? I sold a farm for a farmer by the name of, but better not mention his name. I sold a farm for a farmer for $11.5 million. And I'll call him Bill. That's not his real name. So he had never made more than $35,000 in any year, and he raised 9 children. And he's a wonderful man. So I sold his farm for him when he was 82, and he put $11.5 million into his bank account. This is a man who had never made more than $35,000.
It's a good day.
That was a good day for him. So what happened was a financial planner who is deceitful and dishonest, in my opinion, got a hold of him and put him into very risky investments with Fortress. You know Fortress in Toronto? You probably, if you haven't heard of them, I'm glad. So out of the $11.5 million, this financial planner put about $2 million into Fortress, of which $1.5 million has never been recovered. And when he did that, he got the guy who the financial services individual got a commission. I don't remember whether it was 8% or 12%. It could have been 12. It could have been 8. I don't remember what it was up front. So $2 million went from the farmer's account to Fortress. I think the people at Fortress are in real trouble with the law. And this guy got, I think it was 12% up front, so he got $240,000 check for doing that. And $1.5 million has never come back to the family. So by developing good relationships with people like Nick Cripps and Simon Case and Eva and Rick and myself and people, of course, closer to where you live, you know, it strikes me that you would be able to help somebody like this farm family not lose their money. Mm-hmm. Because you know, you can't sell your land twice.
Nope.
And you know, if you want to land a few big tuna, then this is the way to do it. And as Nick was saying, with a good reputation. I have a couple of other things I'd like to say to Sean, but we only got 9 minutes left. Is there anybody else who would like to chip in here? Rick.
Couple things. One is, I think they asked Dillinger, why do you rob banks? And he said, because that's where the money is.
That's where they got the money, yeah.
Wayne Gretzky, they asked him, how are you so successful? He said, I go where the puck is going. Quote. So just keep doing the things where the more affluent people are. One thing top of mind marketing is one thing I could highly recommend. And that's sending out an email. And I don't care if it says, you know, the heck with you, or if it provides good information or whatever, but at least all of the people that you have dealt with in the past are hearing from you on a consistent basis. I know there was a point where I wasn't following up with my past clientele, and I'd talk to them and they'd say, hey, we just bought a house. Hey, congratulate me, just bought a house. And hey, good for you. Why didn't you call me? You know, just never even thought of you. What? We would have done that. So whose fault is that? Mine. I didn't stay in touch with them. So one recommendation might be to start a top-of-mind marketing program. And everybody you meet, ask them for the email address, and they can opt out anytime. And just keep sending them tidbits of information. Hi, how are you?
Okay, Rick, that was good. Okay, so I'm going to finish the evening by showing a few slides that I prepared for you, Sean. I didn't have much time because, you know, Sean, you did leave it a little bit late, right?
Yeah, my fault. I totally understand.
It's all right. It's all right. It's free coaching. You know what free is worth, right? So I wanted to show you a few things. This is kind of my mantra. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think it is. I'm only interested in creating lifetime clients. I don't look at clients as a transaction. And so, Sean, I remember my broker of record, Ralph Shaw, you know, sort of asking me why I did a little lease for a friend of mine. He owned a shopping plaza. It was about 600 square feet. I probably made $500 in commission income. And my broker of record, Ralph Shaw, sort of said, Bruce, why are you doing a lease, you know, for 600 square feet? And I said, well, he was a friend of mine and he needed some help. And 2 years later, he came to me and said, Bruce, I'm going to retire. I'm going to sell my shopping plaza, which I did for $4.5 million. And I got a big commission out of that. So I would say to you that I agree with you, Sean. You should be doing bigger deals, and you should be landing some 500-pound tuna. But some of the clients who are now 25 or 35 years of age, one day will be 45 years of age, and you'll be a bit older too. And I do think if you take care of the small things, the big things will take care of themselves. All right. So that would be one lesson. I think you already know that. And what I would suggest you do is you use the term coaching. Being a consultant today is like saying, well, I don't know what I can't say anything that would be polite, but consultant is like a swear word, okay? No, everybody hates consultants, almost as much as they hate realtors, all right? So, and almost as much as they hate financial planners. You with me on that?
Insurance sales,
I would
forget
say
about it.
That the modern lingo circa 2019 is, look, I'll coach you to build an investment portfolio, financial services, whatever. I'll coach you to create something of really great value for you and your family. So you're going to be a coach now. I've just appointed you. And I'm going to show you a little create your own client story. And I got to go through it quickly because I don't want to be late. This is how most financial planners and realtors sell their services, right? Like it's like a beauty contest, guys or girls. They go and say, you know, you want to hire me as your realtor because I got a really fancy BMW. What do you think of my BMW? And look at my $3,500, my $5,500 Armani suit. Isn't it fantastic? It's such BS. And financial planners are doing this too. You know, I'm really, really good. I'm really successful. No, nobody wants to hear that. And the financial planning industry is not trusted. You know that. You see all those commercials on TV. How come your fees are so high and my returns are so low? And the guy says, financial sales guy says, you know, well, it's a long-term game. And the poor sucker says, well, it's not a game to me.
It's not a game.
Retirement, right? So you guys can't, this is old selling. It doesn't work. And you should stop doing it if you ever did.
I completely agree with you. To be completely open, I fully agree with you.
I know I got that from you. So I just have, this is the one slide I think we should focus on because we're running out of time. And this is, I think you have to come up with what I call a wedge product. I don't know what that is, and I just mentioned one here. But a wedge product is something that you kind of push in and you wedge it and it opens up the ice. If you know, that's how an icebreaker works. It kind of creates a wedge and it cracks the ice. And there is a problem out there that is a huge problem for companies all across the world, and that is they have large cash hoards. Not just Google and Facebook and Amazon, which I put on this slide, but I've got lots of companies and corporations that I work with that have a few $100,000, a few millions of dollars, or in the case of these large tech companies, they have tens and tens of billions of dollars. Do you know what their cash return is? I can tell you, it's from their balance sheet. It's 0.9% a year. So you have to come up with a product that's like what Rick was saying, is a top of mind product. You may never sell it, but it gives you something to talk to. Because if you want a 500-pound tuna, he or she they own a company, right? This is Angela or Shannon in a few years, right? They own a company and they've got a few $100,000 or a few $1 million of cash on the balance sheet, or in the case of these tech companies, as I said, a few tens of billions of dollars, and they make absolutely crap returns. If there's a financial instrument out there that could give them 2%, that is twice as much as Apple and Facebook and Amazon are achieving today. And I'm not saying that's the right wedge product, but that is a very, very important niche. Do you understand?
Yeah, and that actually translates into a different issue, especially right now in Canada, because they just changed the way that the taxation is going to be working on what's called active business income and passive business income. And so specifically in these companies that are sitting on cash, whatever it is, it's producing something. And when it produces that something, if that passive income, and this is directly related to the business owners and why I completely agree with you, the small business owners is absolutely the way to go, is because the second those passive income sources exceed $50,000, now it starts attacking the amount that you can have in your active business income that gets taxed at the lower rate.
Right. We were running out of time. So I get that, but I want to make sure I give you some value and we give you some value. So find some kind of product that's a little bit of a differentiating factor for you, that solves a real problem, that gets you in the door. Because like Rick was saying, and I think some of the other people in this call were saying, go where the money is. Isn't that what Rick said? If you want to be a bank robber, go to your bank robbery because the banks have the money.
Exactly.
So you've got to find a problem, and I identified one for you that I know needs to be solved. And even if you could get a 2% return, that's a big improvement over what's already out there. The other thing that I wanted to show you was this next slide, and this has to be the last one because we are at the end. I think you should position yourself as the guy, because nobody else in the financial industry that I know does this. You're the guy who talks about the whole family, the whole ball of wax. That you're not just the guy who's the financial services guy selling them shitty mutual funds, you know, or fortress products that actually kind of take their money and don't give it back. You should be talking about the 8 pillars of investing. And I created this program. I call it the New Pin program because I went to the best financial planners in Ottawa 12 years ago after I left the Ottawa Senators, and I asked them to help me come up with a plan for myself after I left the Senators. And they were all so bad, I said, I'm going to invent one myself. So I did. It involves real estate and a cash reserve and owning a business and having some insurance and having an independent pension plan, you know, and some of these assets that you would create for them, right? Some financial products that you would create for them. So I think you should at least create a group around you, and realtors and lawyers and accountants and others, because you're the guy who's taking care of the whole ball of wax. And you're not just selling products that people don't really want. You're differentiating yourself, and you're taking care of the whole thing. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Sean?
I do. No,
right.
And I completely agree.
All right, we're at 9:01. Rick, you get the last word, and then we have to sign off because I do end these things on time. And thank you all again. I cannot thank Eva and Janice and Sean and Angela and Shannon and everybody else on this call. You guys have been fantastic. But Rick, you get the last word.
Y'all have a really good night, and everybody strive for success.
Strive for success.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for
Thank you very much for participating. Bye, guys. Bye, Shannon.
Bye.
Bye, Ron.
Good night, Bruce.
All right. Good night, Belinda, Janice.
Bye.
Hi, John. Bye.
Good night, Boone.